Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you're like me, you've been grinding a lot of Vanguard in preparation for the Warzone integration. Obviously, we're gonna have 40 plus new weapons added into Warzone with the Vanguard integration. So I've been ranking up all of them. I have officially maxed out every single primary and secondary in Vanguard so far. And with that today, I wanted to go through and rank every single weapon in the game, talk about what is top meta, what's competitive, what's below average, and everything else in between. So as we go through it all, if you enjoyed the video at any point, let me know by dropping a like on it. Would be seriously appreciated. And of course, if you're new to the channel or if you have not already subscribed, feel free to do so. That way you can always guarantee you are up to date with the latest news, updates, class setups, tips, and everything else going on in the world of Call of Duty. Also, real quick, let's check out today's sponsor. Hey everyone, just a heads up, today's video is actually sponsored by Super People. Super People is the ultimate battle royale featuring a roster of specialized super soldiers. Each of the 12 playable classes of soldiers offer their own characteristics, basic skills, and ultimate skills that make your gameplay experience unique to you. The key to gameplay is mastering as many soldiers as you can. That way you'll know exactly what you're up against during a game. Know exactly what soldier your enemy is running? Great, now you know exactly how to counter them and knock them out of the fight. During a game, you're able to power up your skills and eventually unlock your ultimate skill, and you can even upgrade your gear to make it more effective in general as well. Whether you're using the world's resources to gather materials and upgrade your equipment or hunting down other players, Super People is an awesome take on Battle Royale, and on December 7th, the closed beta test is going live. To take part in the closed beta on December 7th, visit the official website gg.net, follow the page to the Steam store, and you're all set, or you can check out the link down in the description below. Once again, huge thank you to Super People for sponsoring today's video, and now back to it. Alrighty, so we are here on a brand new tier list. Of course, as you guys know, we have one of these built for Warzone with every weapon in the game. Once the Vanguard integration happens, we'll be doing the same and adding all these into that same tier list, so we'll have 150 plus weapons on that. But we've got our current 38 weapons. We got our main categories that we have on every single tier list. Top/meta, the absolute best of the best. Competitive, pretty good. There are a couple of better options, but these are pretty much going to outclass everything else in the game. Viable, which is decent, but there's quite a few better options. You could get away with using it, but it is by no means the best choice. Below average, wouldn't really recommend using it. Niche, which is not a low category, it's just a different category. Weapons can be very good still and be in the niche category. They're just very specific and only good in certain situations. Then garbage. The lower the low, the worst of the worst. You don't want to be here. So let's get started. First up, it's kind of a weird order the site placed all these in, but we'll just go in the order that they appear here. We've got the M1928 the Thompson. Honestly, I feel like this is one of the best subs in the game. Once you get the 8mm ammo, you lower that TTK or you make that TTK a little bit faster. This thing is pretty good. For the time being, I think I'm going to put it in competitive, but there's a chance this one might jump up to top meta as we go throughout the list and we see what else ends up landing in competitive. If there's other things that I'm sitting there looking at saying, hey, these two are probably not on the same playing field, we might bump that one up. The Owen Gun. This one I feel like is definitely just competitive. The thing with this is that it has a very slow fire rate, so there are things that can outgun it because of that, just because they have a better fire rate in that TTK, despite being similar to maybe the Owen Guns in overall, efficiency. The fire rate does hold it back in some situations. The thing does fry. Let me tell you that. For an SMG, its TTK is very impressive, but it's not the most versatile SMG in the world. And for that reason, I feel like it is very good, but not the absolute best. The Type 100 as it stands right now is definitely top tier meta. Even after they went ahead and nerfed the combination of the 30 Russian short and the vital proficiency, this thing is still a beast. You can build it to be very agile, very quick. Obviously, it's an SMG, so it's going to be perfect for close and medium range fights, but it also kills extremely fast as well. So the Type 100, absolutely one of the best SMGs in the game. The PPSH is one that I'm a bit torn on. I feel like this is just a hip fire machine. It is not good at ADSing. Every time I tried to use it as an ADS build, it just felt awkward. The recoil felt weird. The sights felt weird. I was not a huge fan of it. I think this one might just be inviable for now. It's borderline competitive for sure, and we'll see if this adjusts as we go throughout the video. But for now, I wasn't really too impressed with the PPSH. We'll get to some of the other SMGs as we go throughout the video, but then we move into some of the shotguns here in order. We got the Einhorn revolving. This thing is just viable. Compared to the other shotties, it just is not as good, right? It's a good shotgun for what it is. It was the first one that I maxed out, and I was like, wow, this thing's pretty impressive. And then I used the other shotguns, and let me tell you, it's not even close to them. So it's viable, but you definitely got some better options, like for instance the combat shotgun, which I'm just going to preemptively put in competitive. I'm not sure what day this video will be going up. We might see some weapon tuning in between the time that I'm recording this now on a Monday and when this video does go up. But the combat shotgun, we all know it's insane, right? Like, it would be top meta if it was anything but a shotgun. It just, obviously, it's not gonna be able to map players across maps like, say, Numa or Desert Siege or whatever it may be. But for Das House, for Shipment, for Decoy, some of those smaller maps, it's going to fry everyone. The thing is absolutely insane. The Graciato is in the same position. I mean, if you combine Gung Ho and Lightweight together, it is unreal. It is, you fly and fry. You literally do, because you have an insane movement speed and you have plenty of ammo in it as well once you rank it up and max it out. So those two are definitely the best shotguns in my opinion. The double barrel as a Kimbo is pretty solid, but you're just so limited in the shots. You have 4 shots max if you're using it akimbo, 2 shots if you're not using it akimbo. That's just not enough to do a lot with. If you miss any of those shots, you're in trouble. You got to stop to reload. So for that reason, I think it is just viable, but it's still a very good shotgun when it comes down to it. By no means is bad whatsoever. All the shotguns right now could probably use a little bit of tweaking to make them a little bit more balanced overall. Now the MG42, I'm going to go ahead and say this one is competitive. I mean, its headshot multiplier is insane. It feels like if you hit the upper body with this thing, the enemies just, their Thanos snapped out of existence the second you start shooting. The TTK is insane. Obviously, though, it's an LMG. It's held back by its very slow mobility, not so great ADS, especially in a fast TTK game like this. That's not super ideal, but the power is there, and the thing hits like a truck. It's not as good as the DP27, though, which is absolutely top tier meta right now. Best LMG in the game, one of the best ranged weapons in the game. No recoil, surprisingly good mobility for being an LMG. I think they might nerf that at some point in the future. Great power, like all around. The dinner plate is an absolute beast. We get to the STG. This thing is absolutely top meta. Even, again, just like the Type 100 with the caliber upgrade and the vital nerf, it still has no recoil, still has great stats in pretty much every single category. Like, there is nothing that is bad about the STG. There are no drawbacks to using it. There's a reason all the pros are running with this, or quite a few of the pros are choosing this as their main rifles. So without a doubt, the STG is top tier meta. Now, the Type 11 is a surprisingly fun LMG after you level it up, but I don't think it's anything to write home about compared to the MG42 or the DP27. Its damage is not insane, and you really have to get the larger mag on it before it becomes anything great. Without the larger mag, I think it has 30 rounds by default, and that is just like an overhyped AR at that point. Like, the thing is not that great until you get it to one of the higher levels, and even then, it still is not going to fry like some of these other guns are, so viable, I feel like, is the right place for that. You get to the Bren. This is going to be our lowest ranked weapon so far. The Bren is just, you can't see your screen when you use it. The magazine sticks straight up. You lose a third of your screen until you get the, like, I think 90 round mag or whatever it is on it. The thing is just not good. It also has trash recoil. If you hold down the trigger, even if you're using like the sustained recoil proficiencies and perks, they're just, it doesn't help it. They're not going to do it justice. The thing is just not good enough to compete against some of these other weapons. By far, my least favorite weapon that I've used so far while leveling things up. We got the M1 Grand, which I feel like is just viable. It's really not anything too crazy. Very standard. It's a marksman rifle, so it's semi-auto. You got to kind of get used to that. There's a skill gap involved in that that will limit it from being a top tier meta weapon, because not everyone can just use it and do well with it right away. It's just a very mediocre, average marksman rifle. Nothing wrong with it, nothing great about it. The SVT is an interesting one here. This is a tough one to push into any category, honestly, because if you use the first barrel, I think it is, alongside Vital and maybe an ammo upgrade, whatever the case may be, this thing can be a one-shot kill to so many parts of the body, but it has a trash ADS, very slow movement, so it's really held in check and it's balanced very well, I think. And I think it has to land in viable because of that. I want this to be higher because I had a lot of fun using this, just because that one-shot potential is insane, but it has a lot of drawbacks, and it is, like I said, very well balanced, so I don't feel like it is probably not going to be in competitive and definitely not top-tier meta. The G43 is also going to land in viable, so the marksman rifles are very well balanced already. You can spam this thing like crazy. It just doesn't have the best damage properties in the world. It's still powerful, so you can get some pretty solid kills with it, but you're going to be better off using a competitive weapon that's a lot easier to use, especially once we get into some of the rifles here in a bit. The G43 is it's good, but it's not great. It's now Frosted Flakes, right? Then we get to the Type 99, absolutely below average, the worst sniper by a mile. The thing is just, it's so weak. I got so many hit markers with this thing, I had to resort to using the bayonet and reach on it to level it up. Granted, I was running Shipment in Das House, but still, not a good sniper right now. Slow ADS, bad damage, just not it. I would not recommend using that. The 3-line rifle is definitely viable. It has decent ADS, way more one-shot kills from my play experience with this, my game time with this, versus the Type 99, just a solid sniper. And same deal with the car. Unfortunately, with all the snipers this year, they're just way too slow to compete in this fast TTK meta, so none of them can be top tier in multiplayer. I think the car and maybe the 3-line will be top tier in Warzone, but for MP, they're all just average, and they're almost kind of niche, honestly, because you got to be pretty skilled with them to outgun things like the Type 100 or the DP or whatever else it may be, because they are slow to ADS, and they're not always that one-hit kill. Combat Shield, pretty obvious one here. This one is niche. You're only using this for certain situations. It's not garbage because it does block shots incredibly well, probably too well. It's a little bit OP if you have it on your back with overkill, but obviously that one's not going to be anything special. The Rat Pistol. This one's viable, and it's so fun to use because it doesn't have a fire rate cap. So if you have a good trigger finger, you can just spam this thing. It's like the Strife from BO4. I love it. It's a ton of fun to use, but it is just a pistol. It's not going to be anything too crazy. Then we get the Automaton, absolutely top meta. I think this is the best rifle in the game. Great mobility, super versatile for close range, medium range, long range because of that fire rate and because of the damage properties. Like, again, just like the STG, there's nothing wrong with the Automaton. It's just a beast all around. No cons, in my opinion, only pros. Love it. Such a fun rifle to use. We get back into some of the pistols here. The Top Break, it's all right. Like, I definitely thought it was going to be worse than what it is, but it's probably the worst pistol, if I'm being honest with you. It's close between this and another one, which we'll obviously get to here in just a moment. But it has that fire rate cap. It's not the fastest firing. It's like a 2 to 3 shot kill most times, unless you're landing a headshot in there. So it's a semi-rewarding weapon, but the skill gap with it is not ideal. It's just not a great pistol. So below average, I feel like, is where that one sits. The 1911 is definitely also up and viable with the Rat, just because it is a 2-shot kill a lot of the time. It has a great 2-shot kill potential and great range for that 2-shot kill potential. So I would say this or the Rat are probably the best semi-auto pistols in the game. Very close competition between those two. Both are great choices. The Clowser, the Santa Claus pistol, also kind of below average. It has some decent damage, but the slow fire rate and the awkward visual kick on it is just not great to work with. Takes a little bit more patience to use. Just like the Top Break, it's nothing to write home about, and there's definitely some better options with the Rat, with the 1911, and also with the machine pistol, which I would say is viable as well. You got to level it up and get the larger mag. It runs out of ammo way too quick, and you constantly have to reload off the rip if you only have that 10-round mag or 12-round mag, whatever it comes with by default. But after you rank it up and get the 20-round mag, the 40-round mag, it really becomes a very solid pistol, almost like a pocket SMG, honestly. It's pretty solid. Then we get to the launchers, and I mean, these are obviously not going to be anything special. They're definitely not competing with any of the regular guns. They're obviously used for very niche things, hence why they're pretty much all going to go in niche, honestly. They're not garbage by any means. Like, they're actually pretty good at killing people. Like, the Panzerfaust and the MK11 have some decent damage properties, and the Panzerschreck and the Bazooka are really good for shooting down streaks. They're very easy to learn and master, so all of them are all right for what they are, but you're obviously not using them for anything other than those very specific things, hence the niche category. The knife, also niche. It's not going to do anything fancy against guns, especially in this TTK meta right now, so nothing crazy going on with that. The Itra Burst, I'm going to keep it a buck. I don't like this thing. I think it's the worst rifle. The burst rifle just does not work in this fast TTK meta either, especially when you can build out all these other rifles to be very aggressive and very quick. A burst weapon just does not succeed in that sort of environment, so it is viable at best, but more realistically, probably below average. The bar, I would say, is probably viable as well. 2-shot kill potential through the roof with the 50 BMG rounds, but very slow, especially when you're building it out for range where it thrives, and also really slow fire rate as well. So it's just not going to be able to compete in most cases versus, again, some of those more aggressive weapons. The AS44 I also feel like is viable, a very aggressive rifle, but it is definitely outclassed versus something like the Automaton, which is very similar in nature in a lot of ways, and there's no real reason to put the AS44 next to the Automaton or close to the Automaton, because 10 times out of 10 times I'm choosing the Automaton versus the AS44. The NZ41 I do think is competitive. 3-shot kill pretty much all the time. Like, this thing is surprisingly good. It's so weird to use because it's slow firing. It doesn't feel like it's a rifle, but it is, and it hits like one, so it has good damage, it has good range, it has good control. Not the best fire rate, but it sort of makes up for that with all the other pros that it has. So I do think that one is competitive, and I also say the Volk is competitive as well. The Volk is a beast, definitely an AR SMG hybrid, I would say. The thing just is so aggressive, fast firing, heavy hitting, good control. Sort of like the Automaton V2. Those two are very similar and probably my two favorite rifles, if I'm being honest with you. And then to close things out, we got the MP40 and the Sten. The MP40 is definitely top meta, borderline competitive. Not the hardest hitting SMG in the world, but it has great range, great control, pretty good damage as mentioned. So not a lot of cons going on with the MP40. Very well-rounded and very dominant. One of the reasons that it's chosen by so many pros, so many top tier players right now. And then we got the Sten, which I would say is below average as well. Just not a good SMG. Not that aggressive, not that powerful. Just doesn't have a lot going on for it. But all around, I kind of like this Vanguard meta where pretty much every single weapon is usable to some extent. There are no garbage tier weapons, which is very MW2-esque, where you can kind of use whatever you want and you can get away with it and you can do semi-well with it. Obviously, some of the below average options are not ideal, but viable is where most things sit, which is awesome for a meta. There are a lot of very dominant weapons though, which obviously we're going to see tuned over time as we get future weapon tuning and as things change and as we get new DLC weapons. We're going to be updating this list quite a bit, so this will be a familiar sight as time goes on, but that's going to do it for this one. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts on the list down in the comments below. Of course, if you enjoyed the video, let me know by dropping a like on it. It would be seriously appreciated. And if you're new to the channel or if you have not already subscribed, feel free to change that. Hit that sub button, tap that bell icon. That way you'll always know whenever I post a new video. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy. Have an awesome rest of your day. And I will catch you guys later. Peace out.